Thanks, everybody.
Even without Lee, we managed to go live, people. This is a big achievement.
It's mind-blowing that Peter and I managed to pull this off. And for all of you watching, thanks first of all, for spending the time with us for another UI UX review. And if you're missing Lee, so are we, but he has more personal things to take care of. So Lee, all the best if you're watching the replay. And if anybody else is watching the replay, let us know by typing replay in the comments. And I just know to say that because Lee is always saying that. So it must be smart to do that. Very brief introduction for us. Peter.
Yes. Still me. I'm still myself. And I still talk about UX and UI all the time, especially in my Facebook group, Design for Geeks. And I am also a Cloudway Maverick together with Jan Koch.
Yay! Yes, it's so sad that Lee can't be with us. So Lee is from Agency Trailblazer. I highly recommend checking out his group if you haven't already. It's a fantastic community. And my name is Jan Koch. I'm the host of the WP Agency Summit and of WP Mastery. And together with Lee and Peter, we form 3 Cloudways Mavericks. We do these fun UI UX reviews. And for this review, again, as you can tell, we are making up this improvisation and the introduction here, but we know what we are talking about as soon as we pull the websites up. So,
we miss our DJ. We usually we rely on our MC and DJ Lee Jackson so much. So we're messier, but still, hopefully, good.
We're still doing our best for this. So
yes.
Peter, if you want to go ahead, let's share your screen in the beginning and let's talk about the first website that we have ready for today.
Yes. So what I'm also doing, hang on a second, because I'm making sure that the people in my group are going to see this, but actually that looks quite complicated. So I won't. I'll do it in a minute.
I'll double check for you.
Yes, thank you. Start a watch party if you can. So this is the first website that, are you sharing my screen? Yeah, that's my screen, is it?
Yep.
Yes, it is. Okay, great. So I've got the controls. So this is a really lovely wedding photography website. There's so much that I really, really love about this. First of all, the image on the first image that you see is just so full of joy. I mean, the background is lovely. It's just sort of this completely open landscape behind, and it's the sea, either sea or clouds. I guess it could be clouds, or it could be a very big lake. But anyway, it's lovely. It's sort of an idyllic scenario, and look how happy they are. They're absolutely having the time of their lives, and so they should. So there's a lot that I love about this. And then also, you know how I always say that there has to be a call to action. There has to be one main thing that you want your users to do when they land on your site. And here it does it, obviously, because look, here it says, let's talk. So clearly what the owner of the site wants is for you to get in touch with them. I'm pretending I don't know who it is. I actually do know. So I'm not going to click on it yet. But what it does, it just, as you can see here at the bottom, can you? No, you can't. You don't see that actually, I don't think, in the video. But basically, it takes you to the contact page. Before we go there, which we will do, just a quick couple of other observations. Now, my friends here and colleagues know me so well that they kind of know what I'm going to say. Do you know what I'm going to say next? Jan,
of course,
maybe?
Of course.
What is it?
I would assume, I have multiple things that I assume. So there are a lot of varying font faces and font types in this hero section. The handwritten font type is a little bit hard to read, and the line spacing of the subtitle that you highlighted is too small, in my opinion, and the opacity of the call to action button is not making it easy to read.
Honestly, my work here is done. I don't even know why I bother showing up. It's just I am
because you have
so much better
understanding in explaining why. I just noticed, but I can't say why.
Well, it was all perfect. The funny thing is that I couldn't do what you do, so soon I'll be redundant and you will never be. So great. Right. Anyway, so yes, exactly. So let's go over the fonts. So in fact, I see. Okay, let me see. Is this? Actually, maybe you can do it, Jan, while I talk about it. Can you check whether this is uppercase CSS? Whether this is how? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This all caps. Because okay, so there's a few things to say about this. So because you deserve to be you. I mean, I don't think it's very clear as a headline, and especially in terms of SEO, it can't really mean much. But it has to be said that
it's written as all upper caps. There's no CSS transformation.
Okay, so that's really wrong. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it M.A. Love photography or is Ma Love? I don't know. So forgive me if I don't pronounce it right. So there's a few issues with the way this is set. So number one, I love that it's left aligned. Keep that. Don't change that. Well done. Left aligned. Perfect. It's the white is really, it's borderline because the font is so thin. Then you are sort of running. It's just, it is legible, but it could be better legible maybe. Also, because this is uppercase, then the line height is a bit too high. Basically, I find that the lines, it doesn't look so much as like a block because there's a lot of space between the lines for my taste. So one thing that you can do with uppercase, because it doesn't have any descenders or ascenders the way that lowercase has, then you can afford to lower the line height, which makes it more readable. However, it's a real issue if you just basically just do an alt lock and you don't style it as uppercase. So the right way to do it is to have it as lowercase and then use the CSS text transform uppercase to turn it into uppercase. And that's even borderline. I mean, basically uppercase is a bit dangerous on the web because screen readers tend to read it as an acronym. Definitely they do if it's not styled properly, which this isn't. So someone who can't see so well and uses a screen reader would probably get this read out to them as BECAUSE and so on. So it's not ideal. Also, unless you have a good reason, I wouldn't use uppercase. I mean, I love it stylistically. I think it looks great, and I completely understand why you would do it. But you have to be careful with it. Then I'm sort of, Jan, I'm going to interpret what Lee might say, maybe. What I just said, that because you deserve to be you doesn't really, maybe you can, I understand why you're saying this, that you probably mean to say that your style of photography in people is letting them be themselves. That is completely explained by how natural and at ease and happy the couple here look. But maybe you would want something that's a bit more understandable, because then when you say elopements and wedding photographer and guide, that's who you are, and that's perfect. So you've done the very big line spacing in the main headline, but then here providing intentional photography for your widely unconventional engagement and wedding experience, capturing the first day of a new adventure as a married couple, is a brilliant description of what you do. I have no doubt, which is great. But at the same time, there is barely any line height, and that's
really hard to read.
Really hard to read, and it's a shame because it really. I would swap things around. I would make elopements and wedding photographer and guide. I would not use the script because you want people to read this. You don't want anyone to not be able to read this. And as Jan quite rightly said, it's script typefaces can be hard to read. So where you have it in your logo, that's great. That's absolutely fine because it's only one word and we know you're a photographer. But I wouldn't use it anywhere where it's really crucial that people understand what you are saying. So maybe I would have elopements and wedding photographer and guide as the main heading or something like that. So something that really explains what you do. And then the paragraph much bigger and readable. And because you deserve to be you, I would have it as a kind of sort of almost a footnote, because it's
I'm
not
not
the
sure if
thing
that's
that
even
explains.
needed. Yeah, it's not adding anything.
No, I mean, I understand why, but sometimes we add things that don't add much just because we like them, and that's fine. So if you want to keep it because you like that sentence, it means something to you, then absolutely. But just make it reverse it. So make the important thing the heading, because that's also what describes your page to people who are looking for it. So here, let's talk again. Jan hit the nail on the head. This needs to be, because is that what you want people to do? I imagine that's what you want people to do. So I don't know how you drive traffic to your website, but let's say it's word of mouth. So people see you at a wedding, they go, oh, I'm getting married next month. I'd love to talk to you, because also it sounds like you do something special, because elopements, really intrigued by that. Adventure weddings, really intrigued by that. You say that you're a guide, so I'm sort of guessing that maybe you also find locations. Would you say that? That sounds like it might be. So I'm really interested to find out more. I'm really intrigued. So I would make Let's Talk way more visible and bigger, further up, and definitely not transparent.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go there now.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you to go to that and to see.
See, for instance, the fact that this is parallax, so the background photo stays. I like that. I think it just makes it dynamic. I mean, the photos are amazing. Honestly, they are. So we can we can look at them. So let's go to contact. Okay. So so contact, this is a little bit of an about page as well as contact, which is fine. But what I always say, so hang on. Yeah, it kind of works, because one thing that I always say, and that I'm sure Jan knows by heart by now, is that you always need, whenever you label anything, you must make sure that what you promise in the label corresponds to what people get. And this works because it's Let's Talk, and there's a bit of a description of you, and then it does promise it is a contact form. So, I mean, Let's Talk is a little bit oblique, but people will understand it.
I love the subtitle, by the way. The best third wheel you can dream of.
Yeah, it's great.
That's really nice.
That's lovely. Now, I am a little bit concerned about how light gray the background is. So maybe you'll be quick. Okay, there you go. Oh God, he's got loads of colors.
Already.
Which one is it? He's on it. So it's a little bit concerning. I mean, it is if I can read it, then most people will. But here, where the typeface gets really thin, you're running the risk of letting for people to not read it so well. And then again, be careful with your hierarchy, because again, I mean, it's always the same typeface, which is fine, but you're styling it in 4 different ways. And while in a way I like that because it gives me a hierarchy, is it needed? Why is the 4th paragraph in italics? I don't know if it's needed, because you're kind of still describing who you are. And I mean, it's such an inspiring photo. Your image is so lovely, so lovely. One thing that I have to say that I've started saying, when you have the color of the background, let me know and I'll go and check it.
Yeah, it's on the private chat already.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool. C3, C3, C3. So we're just going to check the contrast checker. So the foreground is FFF, and the background is C3, C3, C3. So let's see. So it absolutely doesn't pass any what's it called? Any
Accessibility standards.
Accessibility standards. Sorry, I had a complete like it doesn't pass any accessibility standard. You can't risk this because you're telling people who you are, so they need to read. Whereas this, what's this? This is a dark gray. That would work. You really need to make sure that people can read that. So, and then something else that I am starting to say a lot when we look at forms. So if you ask people what is your goal and need with a photo shoot, you're asking them a lot to work. Basically, you're asking them to work. So why don't you do instead something that helps a user much better? So for instance, instead of having this, you could have a series of questions. What is your date? What is your location wish? Which type of package means nothing to me? Do you have packages? So if you do have packages, list them here. Because maybe you do. Maybe we can have a check for that. We've got 20 minutes per website, don't we? So
we have a couple of
again.
minutes,
So transform this instead of having it as a free text form, which is requiring your user to work hard for it. You already have the questions that you want answered. So transform the form in that. And people, I mean, I don't know how much this converts, but I have a feeling it will convert much, much more. So, and the same thing is here. What was your website experience? Did you find no information needed? Did it work? Was something missing? Again, you're asking people to work too hard for you. You already know the questions. You've already done the work. So instead of doing that in your form, have that as not radio buttons, but as either short answers or as multiple choice, so that people can choose as many questions, as many answers as they need. Now, have you noticed something? Jan? So, I mean, I live in Spain. Where is this? I still don't know.
True.
I still don't know where you are. I have no idea. And actually, this I do know. I'll cut a long story short. I did search all over the website, and nowhere does it say where you're actually based. I know that +41 is Switzerland because I have a client there, but you need to say,
and on Facebook,
it's not obvious.
You can see it.
Yeah, but it's not obvious. So, and also I would say here, as we were talking about accessibility, this is really, really, I struggle to read this because also the typeface is very thin, which looks very elegant, and I understand why stylistically that works for you. But I would, it's very thin and very small typeface, and the contrast isn't very high. So I would definitely change that. I'm going to go into this quickly, elopement and adventure weddings.
And then afterwards, we can maybe switch to mobile. I do have
switch
mobile
to mobile and
already. And then we can briefly look at the speed.
Yes. So this is amazing. Look at this. It's just fantastic.
The picture is stunning.
So inspiring. I mean, can you imagine this? You want to have this as in your picture book for sure, and on your walls. So it's an amazing service, I'm sure.
We actually had similar pictures of our wedding on the coast here in Germany.
Fantastic.
It's insanely good, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, let's have a look at mobile, and then we need to look at speed, because I've actually realized that I've already taken up almost all the 20 minutes.
No worries.
Sorry.
No worries. So I hope
Yeah.
mobile works. I hope everybody can see it. I'm not able to zoom into mobile, I think.
Yeah.
There we
yes,
go.
you are.
There we go. So that is iPhone X size. And first of all, the image is not ideal on this one because it's just the bride.
Yeah.
the groom is missing.
I think that you need, and also it makes it so difficult to read. All the things that I said still apply, and it makes it so hard to read. It's virtually unreadable. So you need to make a choice, and I would make the choice of not having the photo here, because you can always have a photo gallery and you have other photos underneath. You want people to read here. You want for them to find you and click on Let's Talk rather than go, what? Squint trying to see what's there.
And it's also a good indicator here in the subtext that the line breaks are hard-coded, because otherwise experience wouldn't be breaking here. Yeah. So that's also something that's not ideal, I would say.
No.
below that, I love the picture layout on desktop, but on mobile, it looks a little bit broken if you compare it to the desktop look. So it's a little bit, I mean, it works because you still have the two images and then you have this one in full screen and it looks fantastic.
Yeah,
but
it does.
it's the little things. So text is cutting off right here. There's too much white space for my taste. Because on mobile, you're not scrolling down so much. If you see like this view, you don't know to expect more content on the website there. So
also avoid. Can you go back up? We have encountered center text. Go further down so that we can see the center text. Yeah. So my favorite thing. So one thing that I always say all the time: see how my eye has to travel to do this, to read it. And also what I see is I see a bowl and I see a fish. I'm not reading because that's what I see. So left align, that's your friend. Yeah. That's what you should do.
And then here's another example of low contrast, really low contrast.
Yeah. Hard to read.
And another example for the text. And in general, just I would double check that no content is getting cut off on your page, because it seems to be happening more than once. And let's really briefly look at the page speed now, because we're running out of time here for this one.
But honestly, just such amazing photos.
It is
really amazing photos. What a wonderful job you've made for yourself. Fantastic.
Yeah. And given that you have many photos, the fully loaded time is amazing. So kudos for the loading speed optimization. And there are a few things that I wanted to highlight here, and that is, again, ignore the surf scaled images, because it saves you 100 kilobytes, and on the scope of the total page size, that's less than 10%. So I wouldn't worry about that. Rather, I would try and see if you can reduce these 967 milliseconds for the first time to bytes. So I would look to optimize the database of your website, and I would look to check if the server resources are plenty, or if the server is on its limits already and you need to upscale, because that really brings a noticeable difference. Other than that, if we have a look at the timings, the 0.9 seconds TTFB is something you would want to improve on. But other than that, after 2.4 seconds, the DOM is loaded, and 2.6 seconds until the website is perceived to be fully loaded. So this is, given that it's a photography page, this is really, really, really good. Nice job.
And I have to say, it felt really smooth and fast to navigate at all times. So well done. So we're going to move on now. But so great. It just makes me want to look at all your photos and so just think, I want to be there. It makes me want to be there. So even more so, you say where things are, you know? Yeah. Anyway, so now.
Next one.
BM bookings.
And we have Yaniv here with us, I think. Yaniv Ben-Ari. Welcome. Thanks for spending the time with us. You're the owner of the website.
Yes.
So it's exciting to hear your feedback as we talk about the site.
Please, yes, make sure that you do comment. So I know that Jan knows one thing that I'm going to say about this.
Yep. And it's not the lack of center text.
It's not. It's not. What is it?
It's the animation in the background.
Yes. So I have to say, though, to be fair, this is less, I will say annoying, because it is normally annoying. But this is kind of, I'm finding myself almost pleasantly sort of mesmerized by it. So I completely understand why you have it there, but you have to be aware of the fact that animations are, generally speaking, not... Look, does it do stuff if I go over it? Not really. Is it?
It's just flickering a little bit.
Yeah, just flickering a little bit.
There are effects like this that actually follow your mouse. They follow your cursor.
Yeah, those are unbearable. Like really, really unbearable. So animations like this, it's always a little bit of, it goes, usability will suffer without a doubt, because for all the people who think, oh, it's cute, you're alienating others that won't like it. To be fair, it's not a terribly upsetting one, but there will be people who would they will be seasick and they will leave your motion sick rather, and they will leave your page, and that's really not what you want. So BM bookings, super clear. What isn't so clear is artist bookings and services management, which is very, very tiny in a very thin font. And what you have to consider is that BM bookings is your name and doesn't mean much. I mean, bookings helps, but it doesn't mean anything to anyone. Whereas artist bookings and services management is what matters. I mean, if you want, it's a description rather than a marketing headline, which I'm sure that's an observation that Lee would have made. So we actually, I've just realized that for the wedding website, we didn't talk at all about their social presence, which Lee would have. Damn it, Lee, we miss you. We really miss you. Anyway, so even though it's not sort of marketing optimized, but it does describe what you do, whereas BM bookings doesn't really. So maybe you could have BM bookings up here next to the logo, which is, by the way, I really like that mark up here. Can you see my mouse? Yeah.
Yep.
I really like it, and have it here, and then have a heading here that explains what you do, which is what artist bookings and services management. It's a bit dry, but it does explain what you do, whereas BM bookings is just your name. And also I've heard it said that welcome to doesn't, I mean, I've had it on my own websites, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't really mean much to and it's a little bit old-fashioned. Obviously you're welcome, it doesn't really mean much. So what I said earlier about the wedding photography website is that she had a call to action. It was let's talk. It was a bit hidden, but it was there. Here, what is it?
By the way, sorry to interrupt. Marlene is just in the comments with us too, I noticed.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. So let me know while I keep chatting if she said anything, because, oh, here she is. Marlene, she said, thank you for feedback. Our pleasure. Thank you so much for submitting your site. We really loved it. So just to say here, you need to clarify what you want people to do, because it could be chat with us, but that is in a corner. I mean, it's nice. I like that you have it there. And it could be that you want people to talk to you, but to call you. But do people call? It's interesting to know whether they immediately call you, because another thing that I say all the time is that when we land on a website for the first time, we're hardly ever ready to take any action. In fact, they say that it takes like 5 or 6 contact points before we buy anything online, which is, I think, a really important thing to bear in mind. So BM bookings, aka Beyond Measure, are a unique association. Also, you've got here that you got typos, so you want to get rid of the space before the comma and put it after the comma. Are a unique association of record labels, music producers, psychedelic art designers. That's why you have this here, because it represents you, event promoters, and professional service freelancers. Our platform is designed to aid musicians and promoters find everything they need under one roof. Okay, fantastic.
And it's properly typed and then used to with CSS to transform to uppercase.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for preempting me. So, and then in-house labels. So I suppose that this kind of thing also depends on the audience. So maybe you've got such a niche specific audience. Maybe they know you already. So it'd be helpful to know how you get your clients, whether you use your website as a marketing tool or whether people that land on your website already know you anyway. So, and here you have the labels. So just another thing before I move on, that the dark mode is touch and go. It's a little bit like Marmite. It kind of literally is. There'll be 50% of the people that love it and 50% of the people that hate it. Again, there isn't that much text, so it will be all right. But just before I go, the menu, way too thin. And then when you hover over stuff, it goes almost unreadable. So you want to change that because you want people to be able to read you. Sorry, Jan, you were about to say.
I think the graphic work is on point for the market that they are in, though.
Absolutely.
I really like that.
Yeah, totally. In terms of the branding, it looks great. It's I would prefer it if but it's just tiny bits that I would sort of make it more consistent, because it's not completely consistent. Like this typeface is not completely consistent, but in terms of the visual mood, it works definitely. I'm not sure I like gradients so much, but what you do, so I'm sure that your target audience understands what you do immediately, or do they? Because I'm not sure exactly what you do. What is it that they find everything they need under one roof? In what form? What exactly do you offer? I'm not entirely sure, and it could be because I am not your target audience. So
I think it is what they do is they help music acts get booked in a very, very simplified manner.
So are you agents? Because this sounds like stuff I should listen
think it
to,
is. Yeah,
I don't quite like it. This is my cup of tea, pretty much. So I'll explore your music. Can we listen to it if we?
Yeah, there are SoundCloud embeds on the artist detail pages, which I think is really cool.
So one thing that I wouldn't do, because like now I've clicked here because what I really want is to listen to the artist, and it just gives me a slight enlargement of their photo, which is not really helpful. So there's nowhere here for me to click and go and listen to them.
It is. You can just click on any of the artist images, but just the point that you didn't think it is makes it clear that it's not obvious now.
Okay, so I went on the loop and it didn't work. Okay, great. So one thing that, can you stop it in any way? No. Okay. Okay. So no, I can't stop it. I can't stop it. Can I? I can't stop it. So see my predicament here. I'm on a course, so I have to go back. I am forced to go back because the only way for me to not hear that would be to turn the volume down, in which case I can't hear Jan anymore. So I can't.
That would be a pity. I don't like talking to myself all the time.
so I can't actually, and I couldn't work out how to make the music stop. So although it's fabulous that you have all that on the artist, and it's clear that it's so comprehensive and it tells me all I need to know about the artist, and I can listen to them, which is fantastic. And I can find that SoundCloud, and that's all great. But because I couldn't stop the music, I was unable to carry on looking at that page. Yeah. And you have to consider that a lot of people may be in the same situation. So keep it as is, but make it really obvious to stop that, how I can actually stop the music or turn the volume down, make sure that there are commands there. I'm going to try again. I'm going to see if I can find it. So first of all,
in the meantime, sorry, Yaniv actually replied what they are doing. So they work with festival promoters. They manage the artists and all the services they need. So that is like, I would assume, because my former boss was an artist in a German rock band too. So what they needed is like everything related to branding for the artist, music recording, writing songs, getting gigs, and stuff like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Yaniv.
Yeah, okay, that's, and also I don't know how, okay, so below, and that would be, I think, I'm sure it would be, if I click on our services, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And okay, so here, so I'm sure that we've shown you how dangerous it is to not give a user the option to stop a feature that right then they can't handle, which was like the music. I couldn't handle it because, and then, Jan was talking and I went back on that page because I wanted to have a better look at it, but I can't because Jan is talking and there would be music on top of him. So careful, because I'm just one. It could be someone, think that if I am an assistant showing an act to my music, to my event organizer, and I'm saying, let's book this act, and I can't speak and show it to them because I don't know how to start the music. So I think you should do that.
I've just tested the artist's layout on mobile too, and the SoundCloud embed isn't working reliably there because it seems to get overlaid with that WhatsApp symbol, And sometimes I can click on the play icon, sometimes I can't.
Okay.
So that is something to worry about.
I'm just what tool could you tell from inspection what tool it is? It looks like it's a grid tool, maybe like Essential Grid. So if you were something like Essential Elementor. So I'm sure that I mean I don't use Elementor, but I'm sure that it gives you the option to. I would just take the loop out. Just take that loop out. It adds nothing, and make sure that clicking on it takes you to the artist where you can stop the music if you want to in a really obvious way. Now here, this grid is way too busy visually. So it's really important that you have all the lists, the listing what you do. Promotional tools, event management, Trinic, I don't know what that is, but people will know. Graphic and web design, which is great.
It's event ticketing. I think Trinic is the name of the event.
Yeah. So video content, mixing and mastering. So that's fine, but you don't really need the graphic. Just have the copy, because it's very difficult for me to read this. It's just too much visual clash. My brain has to work really hard to work out what it is that you do, because there's so much information for my eyes to interpret. Yeah. So, but I think that, I mean, and also the form is great because you do exactly what you make it really easy for people to write to you. It's very easy to complete, very quick, and then choose service. So really easy. Your message, it's fine because people have the choice whether to say a lot or not a lot. So it's fine in this case. Yeah.
And what I also think is when you scroll back to the grid of services, the design quality of those little thumbnails compared to the design of the headlines that looks much more sophisticated and much more modern. I think it does you a disservice of using these similar font or the various font colors and then having the background shadow because you don't have enough contrast to the background.
Yeah,
I would go for a design that looks similar to the main headlines that you have on the website to make it more consistent and also easier to read.
And keep it simple. Just keep, because already your site visually is quite rich. So when you have a grid like this with all sorts of different things, keep it as simple as possible. And if you decide to go for color coding for the different types of services, make sure that it's accessible. Always check with a color blindness tool. Don't rely just on color. Anyway, it's written. You can write the name of the service. So that's fine. So I would say that I just, because we need to move on to the speed now, really like the logo, really, really like it. So, oops.
Let me take over the screen share then.
Yeah.
I first wanted to look at mobile. Sorry to interrupt, Picha. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say I would have I don't know what's happened to the homepage in my share, but anyway, I would have a really clear, much clearer call to action on the homepage. I think that's going to help you out a lot.
Yeah. And
off you go.
From what I can see on your screen share here in the studio on StreamYard and the one that I see on my screen that we see all now, it's the same effect. So we are not sure. Broken. Yeah, we are not sure what exactly happened. Let me check the console real quick if there's some CSS.
Oh, Yaniv actually says it's Essential Grid. So I know, sorry, back to the grid. As I know Essential Grid really well. You can totally customize it in any way. It makes your site a bit slower, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Yaniv, as you can tell, the website is looking quite broken.
Yeah, something's going on. Oops. I don't know what happened, but Jan's gone. It wasn't me, I swear.
I'm sorry for that. I reloaded the wrong screen. So Lee desperately need you.
Oh, Lee. Oh, we miss you.
Lee is going to tear me apart if he sees the replay.
God. Okay, he's going to laugh. He's going to be reassured that we really can't hack it without him.
Yeah, definitely. So back to the screen share here. Reloading the screen didn't help, Yaniv. So the layout still is broken. Also, the CSS transformation is gone. So there must be something going on. Very quick there are some misalignments in the padding around your elements that you want to take care of. If we look at one of the artist pages here, the WhatsApp is huge. So that is especially on this artist page where there is no header area for me, is something that you might want to look at. And then the video and the Soundcloud, I already said that the Soundcloud doesn't work reliably. So now you could see it worked. I also was able to stop the music. But then I think when I place it right here, you can see I'm trying to click on the play icon on SoundCloud, but I can't. Nothing happened. So that's just to demonstrate the situation. And now to the loading speed. You have some work to do for this one. But let me try and give you some ideas of what to do. So first of all, you use reCAPTCHA, which is nice, but you're using it, you're loading it on pages where there is no form, and thus you don't need reCAPTCHA on those pages. And obviously you are including the script twice, so that is something you want to look into. For the waterfall, it shows that you have not yet combined the CSS files into one. So also it seems that there are, oh no, that's just Elementor and Elementor Pro. So what you want to look into is you want to combine the CSS files to merge them to reduce the number of requests. The same goes for the JavaScript files without maybe excluding jQuery.js to avoid any conflicts.
What's your experience, Jan? Is Elementor as a page builder? Is it faster, less fast? What is in your experience?
It's in the middle, I would say. They added a new feature that allows you to optimize the HTML structure a little bit. So that they put out this really messy HTML where you have blocks under blocks under blocks under blocks. Let me show you what I mean. So let's inspect the headline here.
Yeah.
Let's inspect the music headline. And you can see that this one is quite straightforward, but then for the entire row, you have countless container elements, countless wrappers, countless bands and stuff like that, which isn't really needed. If you compare that to, say, a website built with Gutenberg, you'll see a vast difference. And Gutenberg puts out much cleaner HTML code from my experience. So let's see what's this. So this is the Vario image right here, and see how many elements it is nested in.
It seems crazy. Oh my god,
it's
so
insane.
amazing.
It's just an image, but that's what most page builders do. So it's a trade-off, because Elementor gives you the flexibility to do nested columns and nested elements and stuff like that. That's what you pay with. It's not the worst thing in the world, though. So you can still get a decent performance with Elementor.
Yeah.
Again, combine your requests. I would do that, and also there is something going on your JavaScript side and on the way the elements get loaded. And I would assume it is related to third-party services like SoundCloud embeds, because the DOM loads in 2.5 seconds. That isn't bad. But then it takes 8 seconds to reach the onload status where the website is perceived as loaded. And then there's still operations going on in the background. So that is something you want to have a close eye on, is the onload time. And I think we have to switch already. So Yanni, follow up in person if you have any further questions. We're happy to share more thoughts on this. He said that with Essential Grids, it broke the layout, so he didn't touch the CSS.
Yeah. But Essential Grid, actually, you can. I don't know what he was referring to, because what I mean is that Essential Grid, you can actually work within Essential Grid.
Yeah, it might be the CSS combination that he's talking about.
But Essential Grid does have issues for sure. I stopped using it because I loved how flexible it is. and how customizable, but it was just slowing my site down. It's got so much JavaScript that it was really clashing with a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, Yaniv, you might want to consider switching to something else then.
Yeah, make it simpler. Just keep it as simple as possible.
I haven't used that tool in the past, but Picha, let me add your stream back, and then let's talk about FromGo.
Yes, so I'm going to refresh this page. So two things that happened before one thing that happened before I can even do anything. It's like, imagine I've only just landed on the site. I know nothing about it. And it's asking to know my location. And I'm like, no, thank you very much. My immediate reaction is that I want to protect my privacy. So my immediate reaction would be, no, you can ask for my location, but only later when it matters. Why would I understand that it matters to you, but I don't know you yet. So I don't want to give you my location. So actually what I'm going to do is block, which is definitely not what you want. So search, compare, book, free. Okay, so it's free. I'm getting my bearings. I'm sort of trying to work out where I am. There's 3 verbs: search, compare, book, and then free. I understand that here is not a verb, so you may want to change this because I think what you mean is it's free, but it's just a little bit awkward because I have 3 verbs coming before it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So, and also, okay, so I don't. Okay, you're being a bit cryptic. I mean, it's a lovely looking site. Let me just say, this is really, really lovely looking. I really like the illustrations in the background. I love the gradient. I love the color. There's so much that's very, very nice about it. But
it's really harsh for me on my screen, the color. It almost hurts the eye.
No, the color is most definitely, I was going to add, but the color is most definitely not web safe because it's a very high, it's a gradient, so but it's a very highly saturated color, and I'm sure that the saturation is definitely around 90 or 100%, which is not what you want. You want to lower the saturation because that's going to make it not so harsh on the eye, as Jan was saying. And then also this eat and drink. Okay, when I hover over it, it becomes a bit more visible, but it's barely visible because it's like orange against orange. And here, caterer is just, the copy is so tiny. You want to help people out, so make it way bigger. And again, I'm going to use the contrast checker. Can you give me at least one color? It's fine if it's not the gradient, just one color.
The red one is FFF0000.
No, that's not a red.
Or
it's a yellow. That is a yellow, yeah. So that's only part of.
Then I've given you the wrong. Let me put that in the private chat here. So I see this one.
And that's a no, sorry, maybe you're
right. An F too much, yeah.
There you go. So, but see how this is not, and even with this is not even with white, it's not accessible. It only passes 3 out of 6, and plus this like pink orangey color, and the orange of the button here is barely visible.
So, you know what's really interesting? Sorry to interrupt again, but I just see the colors from your screen next to my screen, and they look different. It's entirely different colors.
Yeah,
it's insane.
I've got my window and the StreamYard window, and the StreamYard window is so much less saturated than what I see. It's just, the funny thing is that also I am using Chrome, and Chrome shows me on my screen much less saturated colors. So if I were on Firefox, this would blind me. Like blind me. I would not be able to bear it. And actually, let me just go into coolers. I'm just going to check the saturation. But basically, just make it more legible, because otherwise you might have just lost people. So also, although this is fairly, I mean, I'm going to play around, But I am, okay, so this is really helpful. Again, very, very tiny typeface. Consider that a lot of people, so let's say that I'm looking for a bakery. And let's say that, so I don't know why I'm a bit confused now, but there's almost too much. So am I doing the right thing? So now I'm just thinking, should I be looking at this? What's the difference? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit confused as to what, if these icons here are different. And location, again, where am I? I don't know. I live in Valencia, Spain, so I'm going to put down Valencia because I have no idea where you are. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to click on search because nothing has told me exactly where you are.
Seems to be a US-based page. I just tried Berlin and it gave me Brooklyn, New York.
But that's really weird. It should give me an error. If I give you Valencia and you return something like this, now I'm terribly confused because also it's not Brooklyn because look, +61 is Australia. And it says the Grassroots Authority of Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah. There's a nice question regarding the colors.
So where am I? Oh, is there?
Yeah. What do we do about the colors? Change them or just change or reduce opacity?
I'll show you in a second. I'll show you. No, not the opacity. The opacity is just going to make it more transparent. So I'll show you. So always check your background and foreground with a tool like Contrast Checker. There's many others, but Contrast Checker is the one that I find easiest to use. Then I'll
so that is
FF.
Yeah.
This is it was 4 zeros, wasn't it? Okay, fine. So this is a tool that's free and you can use it to create palettes, but also to check. I use it a lot to check colors. They've changed the interface and not for the better. So I always sort of go. So here you see I click on the color number and I can, if I go to HSB, which stands for hue, which means the color, the actual color, saturation and brightness. So this is 100% bright and 100% saturated. Really not easy on the screen. So what I would do is I would turn the saturation down. 80 is safer, but also the brightness because it's way too bright. However, I have to say, red and oranges are my favorite colors. They're all I wear, and I just love them. My fridge behind me is red. I love it, but they're not that easy on the screen for these reasons because it's hard to find a color that will work with them. Now, taking this down, so then what I would do is, like, for instance, I would experiment. So I will, now I've got, so darker is safer. I would then copy. Can I copy the color? Yeah, copy. Color copy to the blackboard. So now I've got Fire Engine red. It's possibly safer. So I go here and I paste. Ooh, no, it didn't. Copy CC2929. CC2929. It's already better. It's already better. So I would just play with the color until I find a combination, a red that works, if it has to be red. So the reason why you do it like this is that the hue doesn't change. So if you have a brand color and that's the red that you need to use, you know that you don't change the hue. So technically it's the same color. What's changed is the saturation, which means the intensity of it, and the brightness, which means the amount of light that is in it. But the color itself is the same. I have a fantastic course on this that you can't buy right now, but you will be able to. So join my Facebook group if you're interested in all this stuff. But so now let's see, B82525. Let's go and.
While you're playing around with this feature,
yeah.
How do I
we're nearly there.
communicate?
Look, we're nearly there.
How do I communicate that to the customer? Because the customer just sees a different color.
You just show them the contrast checker and say, we cannot do this because it's not accessible and you will be fined. And it will, especially for a search engine like this one, that, you know, people would go, you haven't made it usable for me. I am blind or I'm colorblind or whatever, and this is not ADA compliant, and they may might find you. So that's, and also you can tell your client, this is your brand color. Your brand color is this hue, and I am keeping it. So that's how you can persuade the client. And it's really important. So now, for instance, this is for fonts below 18 points. So you could get away with this if you don't have any fonts that go below 18 points. And the point is that you probably shouldn't, because you want to be, this is so tiny. I understand that you need to go tiny when you have to fit a lot of stuff on the screen, but otherwise don't go tiny. I'm going to go back to the home page quickly, because I want to really stress the fact that you need to clarify the location, because I put in my hometown of the town where I live of Valencia, and it gave me Australian addresses, and also it doesn't say anywhere what it is that you do. I only know from here, Jewish Business Connection platform. Is it for businesses? Is it B2B, or is it for the consumer? Can I then order food? Is that, I'm not sure what you do. So this is a fantastic looking website that needs to sort out that accessibility, but fundamentally looks great. Obviously, it's an amazing search engine, but I'm not sure who you are serving. And also here, it's a bit confusing that you've got these here. What's the difference between what I've got here and what I've got here? If this is the same, apart from the fact that it's barely visible because it's so small, but it's confusing. Either have all the icons or don't have them, because you've got the list here. So or explain it somehow, because it's not clear to me. And here is for business. So I imagine it's B2C. It's for consumers to find. And then also here, why do I have this again? I understand you're trying to be more helpful, but actually I am now confused.
Noam has just replied to that question. He's in the comments with us. It is for popular searches. So I would just add a label to that and say like most popular searches, and then put the icons below it. That immediately clarifies what it's for.
And sorry, I don't understand what is
these icons that you just mentioned.
Okay.
Those are essentially shortcuts to popular searches.
Okay. But then if I click on, well, services could be anything. So if I click on stores here and nothing happens. Oh, where do you want to dine? Yes, it does happen. Okay, that's great. This is fantastic. Look how great it is. Fabulous.
Yeah, and when you click on graphic and web design, it just pulls all the graphic and web design businesses. It's just based from the category. It's just all the businesses, and then you can filter further on that search result page.
So this is amazing. Look, and also this is really good UX, but here finally you're giving me the regions. Okay. So I've got the regions here. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, because that's what wasn't clear before when I was making a search, just going, okay, fine, I want to dine, find a Jewish restaurant in my town, and it's not there. So, and here categories, graphic and web design. So I can't choose any other category. Oh, eat and drink. Okay, so I think it needs a little bit of work, because there's so much here. It's amazing, really amazing, but it just needs to be clarified, because now what's this? Eat and drink, no listing matching your search. I don't even know what I searched now. So you see what I mean? I'm getting a little bit lost, but clearly this is a fantastic resource that just needs sorting out a little bit, really.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that, as Lee would say, we're very close to coming into land, so we need to look at speed now. So I hope that was clear, but I'm really available for, just go back to the comments and ask anything there, and and we can carry on the conversation.
Yeah, and luckily we can keep the page speed analysis pretty short.
Wow, that's
because Noam, you've done a great job already. And what is interesting is this is going to be, when you're talking to customers, it's going to be a really interesting conversation, because your scores are really nice, but it seemingly is a really slow website with 7 seconds. However, as I've said multiple times, that fully loaded time doesn't really matter, to be honest. And if you sign up for a free account to GTmetrix, you will see that the first contentful paint is 1.6 seconds. So for a search engine page, this is pretty nice because you have to load all the filters dynamically, the ones that you can search for. So this is really nice. And then 3.7 seconds on load time. I wouldn't say don't touch this. You have more important work to do. So even though there are a few percentage points that you could improve by, say, for example, optimizing one image and saving 70 kilobytes, you have much more important work to do. I would work on features. I would work on improving the user experience and on marketing this page.
What you mean is that you wouldn't worry at all about the technical side because that's fine. That's what you mean.
The technical side of the loading speed optimization is nice. So if you can keep this loading speed under the amount of traffic that you have and that you anticipate to grow, if you can do like a loader IO test and see that the loading speed continues to stay in this realm of around 3 seconds, I wouldn't worry about this. Kudos, good job.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, in so many ways, under so many aspects, this is an amazing resource. But I was just, because I'm looking now, it's still, there are, and well done on having all the filters, the categories, and because that's super useful, but it still needs in terms of, I would test it out really extensively with people that are looking for stuff, the way I was doing it, and really look at people's journey, and then that way you can see how to correct it. And I would definitely work on the homepage to make it clearer what it is that you do, because I was a bit lost. But ultimately, it's a fantastic resource that I hope you can, market and make loads of money from, because it's very useful.
Yeah. And Noom just asked to retest for the loading speed. So let's do that. And then we'll wrap up.
Coming into land.
Not do the cheesy wave because Lee is not with us.
Yes, no, we can't do it. It would be betraying his, leadership of these webinars. We can't possibly do it.
Oh, you did some nice work. The number of requests went down and the total page size went down.
Well, and that was fast work.
That was really fast. The loading time, on-load time, and contentful paint actually were better before, just slightly, but that can be anything. It can be just the server having more traffic now, or the GTmetrix server being slower now than it was beforehand. So I think overall, Noom, you've done a really good job. And as Pete just said before, if you have any further questions, just ping us in the comments. We'll be happy to jump in again and to share our thoughts. And as we have come into land now, to quote Lee, we have looked at 3 websites today. We have looked at fromgo.com, we have looked at malerphotography.com, and we have looked at bmbookings.com. We also mentioned Contrast Checker, and we mentioned coolers.co for creating the color palettes and playing around with colors. All that's left for us to do is, as you can tell, I can clearly not DJ as good as Lee can. Let's, Peter, how do people get in touch with you?
The best way right now is via my Facebook group. Why not? Design for Geeks. I hope to see you in there, and where I'll answer your design questions. So Noom, if you want to join it as well and carry the conversation on in there, you're welcome to.
Brilliant. And you can also reach us in the Cloudways users group. So if you aren't in there already, search for Cloudways users and join the group. It's a highly, highly engaging resource and also a shortcut to the Mavericks. And my group is WP Mastery. Also, if you want to learn more about WordPress in general, Visual Summits, stuff like that, highly encourage you to join WP Mastery. Thanks for spending time with us, friends. We've run a little bit over time. That's because Lee wasn't managing us and wasn't keeping us accountable.
Cracking the whip. Yeah.
So we've had a lot of fun, just the two of us, and I hope you got some value out of this this conversation with Peter and me. Yeah, let us know if you've watched the replay by typing in replay. And if you've made it thus far, congratulations on the replay. That means we've done something right. So have a great rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.